You smacked the smile right off their face without a word. And here's the thing that's getting me about this whole situation. They still don't know what hit them. They are still stunned, like genuinely stunned, because they were so sure, so absolutely certain that they had you figured out. They thought they knew exactly who you were and what you were capable of, or more importantly, what you were not capable of. They had this whole narrative built up in their mind about you, and then something shifted. Something changed. And now they can't even process what they are seeing. I'm talking about that moment when someone was absolutely convinced they could humiliate you. They were ready for it. They had the setup, they had the angle, they had the whole thing planned out. Maybe it was at work. Maybe it was in your personal life. Maybe it was in front of people who mattered to you. But somewhere along the line, they thought they had you cornered. They thought they were going to make you react, make you emotional, make you defensive, make you small. And then you just didn't. You were quiet. You were quiet. Not the kind of quiet that means you are scared or ashamed of broken. The kind of quiet that means you are watching, you are listening, you are taking inventory of everything happening around you, and you are not wasting your energy on their noise. And what I'm feeling is that your patience, your actual deliberate patience, that's what created this moment. Because while they were expecting you to fight back, expecting you to defend yourself, expecting you to prove something, you were doing something else entirely. You were building, you were planning, you were moving in a direction that they didn't even know existed. So now they are standing there and they can feel that something's different. Maybe they can't put their finger on exactly what it is, but they can feel it. Their facial expression changed. The confidence they were carrying just moments before completely evaporated. And the wildest part, you didn't have to say a single word. You didn't have to prove anything. You didn't have to get emotional or defensive or rise to the occasion. You just existed differently than they expected you to. Let me paint you a picture, because I think you are going to recognize this. I'm sure you will recognize this. There is this moment at a gathering. Could be a meeting, could be a social situation, could be anywhere, really, where people are paying attention to each other. Someone says something. Maybe they are trying to be funny, maybe they are trying to make a point at your expense. Maybe they are just testing the waters to see if they can still get a reaction out of you. And you have a choice in that moment. You could respond, you could defend yourself, you could explain or justify or prove that they are wrong about you. All of that would be the expected move. All of that would be exactly what they are prepared for. But instead, you do something different. You smile. Not the kind of smile that means you're laughing at the joke or that you're going along with it. It's a knowing smile. It's the smile of someone who sees exactly what's happening and has decided it doesn't require a response. And that's when you watch their face shift. Maybe their eyes get a little wider, maybe they try to keep the energy going, but it falls flat because you've just removed all the power from whatever they were trying to do it. They were looking for an engagement, for reaction, for fuel, and you just took it away, all away, with a simple expression. What's happening in that moment is something really important. They are realizing that whatever narrative they built up about you, whatever they thought they knew about how you'd respond or who you are, that's not matching up with what they are actually seeing. And their brain can't quite process that disconnect. So they are stunned. They are standing there trying to figure out how they miscalculated so completely. Here is what I think is important for you to understand about what you actually did in that moment. You exercised power in a way that most people don't even recognize as power. Most people think power looks loud. Most people think it looks like you coming back with the perfect comeback or the perfect defense or the perfect way of proving them wrong. But real power looks like knowing your worth so deeply that you don't need anyone else to confirm it. Real power looks like being so clear on what you are building that other people's opinions about you don't even register as relevant information. When they were trying to set you up, trying to get a reaction, trying to pull you into their drama, you were somewhere else entirely. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you were operating on a different frequency. And the gap between where you are and where they thought you were, that gap is what created that stunned expression. That's what took the smile off their face, because they realized, at least on some level, that they don't even know who they are dealing with anymore. Think about what was happening while they were busy trying to humiliate you. You were quiet, yes. But that quiet came from somewhere. It came from clarity. It came from knowing something about yourself that they don't know about you. Maybe you knew that their opinion didn't matter. Maybe you knew that you had something happening in the background that they couldn't even see yet. Maybe you knew that the version of yourself they were trying to make you feel ashamed of wasn't even who you are anymore. Or whatever it was, you knew something. And that knowing, that internal knowing, that's what allowed you to just be still while they were freaking out. What I'm picking up on is that there are people in your circle, people in your life who thought they had you completely figured out. They thought they understood the limits of what you could do, what you would do, and who you would become. And They built an entire framework around keeping you small, keeping you quiet, keeping you from becoming too much. Sometimes this comes from people who are close to you. Sometimes it comes from people in positions of power or authority. Sometimes it comes from people who just got comfortable with who you used to be and don't want you to change because your growth might threaten something about their own life. But here is the thing about silence when it comes from that place of knowing. It's not empty. It's not powerless. Silence can be the most powerful tool in your entire arsenal. Because while you are being quiet, while you are stepping back, while you are removing yourself from the chaos and the noise, you are actually creating space. And in that space, things happen. Downloads come through, clarity shows up. You start to see situations for what they actually are instead of what you were told they were. So you start to understand people for who they really are instead of who you wished they'd be. I'm feeling something specific about this. While they were out there making noise, making accusations, building a narrative about who you are and what you are not capable of, you were somewhere doing the actual work. You were studying. You were developing skills. You were building connections. You were creating something. You were positioning yourself. And they had no idea. They had no idea. They thought your quiet was weakness. They thought your stepping back was defeat. They thought your silence meant you accepted their version of who you are. But none of that was true. You were operating in a different dimensions of reality than they were. They were still playing the game where status and volume and external validation matter. You had already moved to the game where results matter, where actual accomplishment matters, where integrity and consistency matter. And those are two completely different games. Completely different games. They are not even playing by the same rules anymore. And that's what's creating this gap between your reality and their understanding of your reality. Think about this like a chameleon for a second. You know what a chameleon does? It doesn't fight the environment around it. It doesn't try to prove how tough it is or how colorful it can be. A chameleon just adapts. It blends in when it needs to blend in, and it changes itself completely to match what's around it. It's not not to hide, but to survive, to thrive, to see what's happening while nothing's paying attention to it as a threat. And then when that chameleon moves, when it actually takes action, everything changes in an instant because nobody saw it coming. They were too busy looking at the scenery to notice the chameleon had shifted its entire position. That's what you've been doing. You've been the chameleon. While everyone around you was making noise and building narratives about you, about who you are, you were changing, you were shifting, you were evolving into something different, something more powerful, something they don't even have a framework for understanding yet. And now, when you show up differently, when you move differently, when you carry yourself differently, it's like watching a chameleon suddenly change color right in front of someone's eyes. That person's entire reality gets disrupted because their brain can't catch up with what they are seeing. This reminds me of something from the movie The Social Network. There is this scene where everyone in the room thinks they know Mark. They think they understand the threat level he represents. They think they can control the situation. And then he does something. Not with aggression, not with anger, just with clarity and quiet certainty. And suddenly the entire dynamic shifts. Everyone in that room realizes they've been playing checkers while he's been playing chess. They've been operating based on an old version of him, an old version of what they thought was possible. And he's already 3 moves ahead. And they can see it. They can see it all over his face. That moment when they realize they got the whole calculation wrong. That moment when the smile disappears and all that's left is stunned realization. That's what's happening with you. That's what people are experiencing when they see that your quiet wasn't weakness, that your stepping back wasn't defeat, that your silence wasn't acceptance of their version of who you are. They are realizing they were playing against an old version of you, and you have evolved into something they didn't account for. You didn't announce it. You didn't make a big deal about it. You just became it while they were not looking. So then something happens, something shifts. Maybe it's a specific event. Maybe it's that something you've been building shows up in a visible way. Maybe it's that you move in a new direction and suddenly people start seeing you differently. Maybe it's that someone they respect, someone with authority or influence, treats you in a way that contradicts everything they've been saying about you. Maybe it's simply that you carry yourself differently now. You're not trying to convince anyone of your worth. You're not seeking validation from people whose opinions don't matter. You are just existing in your truth. And they see it. And it breaks their entire framework. Because the version of you they had in their mind, small, quiet, limited, ashamed, waiting for permission, that version doesn't match up with who's standing in front of them now. Not at all. And their brain is scrambling to reconcile that information. They are looking at you and they are trying to figure out when this happened, how this happened, what they missed while they were busy judging you. What I'm really getting at here is that the smile coming off their face. That's not about you proving them wrong. That's not about you winning some game or getting revenge or showing them up. It's deeper than that. It's about them realizing that they fundamentally misunderstood who they were dealing with. They underestimated you. They bet against something in you that turned out to be way more powerful than they anticipated. They looked at you and they decided you were one thing, and you turned out to be something else entirely. Something bigger, something more capable, something they couldn't even imagine. And the fact that you did this without saying a word, that's actually the most devastating part of all. From their perspective, from their perspective. Because if you'd come back with arguments, if you'd defended yourself, if you'd proved them wrong with words or actions specifically designed to show them up, then at least they could maintain their narrative. They could say, oh, they are just defensive, or they are just trying to prove something, or they are just reacting to what I said. But you didn't do any of that. You just became who you actually are. And that's something they can't argue with. That's something they can't dismiss. There's this other thing happening too. While you were being quiet and letting them think whatever they want to think about you, other people were watching. Other people were watching. People you didn't even know were paying attention. People with influence or connections or resources. People who saw your character being revealed in how you handled pressure. People who saw your integrity in how you refused to respond to the bait. And they were impressed. They started seeing you in a different light. They started thinking about you differently. And suddenly you have people in your corner who were never there before. You have allies, you have advocates, you have people whose eyes opened to who you really are because of how you didn't respond to the provocation. So now, when this person looks at your life and sees what's happening, they are not just seeing you. They are seeing the people around you. They are seeing the respect you've earned. They are seeing the things you are building. They are seeing opportunities opening up for you that shouldn't even be available based on the version of you they thought existed. And they are really realizing that they got the entire situation wrong. They completely miscalculated. They thought they were dealing with someone small, and they were actually dealing with someone operating on a completely different level. The thing about stunned silence, and this is what I want you to really understand. Stunned silence means they are processing. It means they are re-evaluating. It means the framework they were using to understand you and your situation is completely breaking down. And they don't have a replacement framework yet. So they are just standing there, unable to speak, unable to move, unable to do anything except witness the disconnect between what they thought and what they are seeing. And you know what the best part is? The best part is you didn't have to do anything dramatic to create this moment. You didn't. You didn't have to perform. You didn't have to make a big statement or prove something or rise to the occasion in some visible way. You just had to be clear on who you actually are. You had to trust the process. You had to believe that while you were quiet and working and building something real, something that would eventually speak for itself. I think there are people listening this right now who are in that quiet phase. You are in the tunnel, so to speak. Everything looks dark. Everything feels like nothing's happening. You are being tested. You are being pressured. People are trying to pull you into drama, trying to distract you, trying to get a reaction out of you. And all you are doing is staying still. You are staying focused. You are staying true to what you know is yours to do. And I want you to know that silence, that patience, that refusal to be pulled into the noise, that's creating something. That's building something. That's positioning you for a moment, just like the one I am describing. A moment where someone who underestimated you, who tried to diminish you, who thought they had you figured out, is going to watch you emerge as something they didn't expect. And they are not going to have words for it. They are just going to be stunned. Keep doing what you are doing. Keep building. Keep being clear on your path. Keep refusing to let other people's opinions about you become the truth you are living by. Because the smile coming off their face is not your job to orchestrate. That happens naturally when reality doesn't match their expectations. All you have to do is keep becoming who you actually are. Keep growing, keep becoming more, not less. The stunned expression, that's just what happens when people finally see you for real. That's what happens when they realize they were looking at a reflection the entire time. And the real you was somewhere else entirely. Already 3 moves ahead. Already built. Already won. Love you. Stay blessed.